Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Jake sent me notes, and Steve, check out the story from New York, the state of. Woman says Albany dealership took her old car, her money, but it left her with a dud. So she's alleging three different bad things here happening. CBS 6, Albany.com ran the story written by Brianna Supardi. What was supposed to be a routine car trade-in has turned into a legal and a financial mess for one woman from Schenectady, who says she's been left with a broken down vehicle, a damaged credit score, and no answers about what happened to her old car, or for that matter, her money. So the woman told CBS 6 she went to a local car dealer in Albany first week of June, traded in her 2015 Ford Escape, and put down $11,000 cash toward a used 2017 Infiniti. Now, the Infiniti cost $15,000, so she paid some of that off with a credit card, but there was an outstanding lien on the Ford Escape, which the dealership said they would pay off. So as part of the trade-in, the dealership told her she'd get an allowance for $4,000 to go towards the Infiniti, and they would then pay off the remaining $3,600 on the Escape, which was the lien amount. Nearly 2 months later, the lien has not been paid off. And she says, under the terms and conditions, he was to pay off the lien immediately. Unfortunately, that lien has not been paid off. So we're going on now over 2 months. So that means she's still on the hook for the payments on her old car. Presumably, she didn't make them. And presumably, she's heard from somebody going, how come you're not making your payments anymore? And she says, I haven't got the car anymore. Oh? And so there's the issue. So she then asked for the dealership to give her her Ford Escape back, but she was told that it had been loaned out and they don't know where it is. And now you might say, but Steve, maybe they just sold it. Well, no, they can't sell it. It's got an outstanding lien on the title. So the guy who has the car can't sell it without some other shenanigans. So it sounds like he probably would have it, but he lent it out. So she says that she thinks at this point the dealership basically stole her old car. And an argument can be made that that's what they did. Now, of course, it's not theft in the sense that they didn't run up and grab it from her in the dark, but they did take it from her with a promise to pay it off, which they did not do. She said this is in addition to learning the vehicle she bought is also defective, with problems occurring as soon as she drove the car off the dealership lot. She said it took 3 times to start the car. The Infiniti's been in the shop literally almost the whole time for the past 2 months. She said she contacted the dealership's owner who agreed to have the car looked at, but then the dealership that she took it to quoted nearly $14,000 in necessary repairs, and you recall that the car only cost $15,000. So at that point, the guy she bought the car from backed off, said, I'm not going to pay that to fix that car. So the Infiniti dealership told her over the phone that they quoted the seller a total of almost $14,000 worth of work. The woman on the phone did tell me this car needs extensive work and that the seller denied it. So she said that the seller has taken the vehicle to other shops to try to get repairs done, but the problems persist. So meanwhile, CBS 6's reporter stopped by the dealership to speak to the seller, but he declined to appear on camera. So, interestingly, though, it does look like he's gone to a couple different dealerships trying to find someone who'll do the repair work on this vehicle. But that leads us to a breakdown of what's going on here. There's several problems. And underneath it all is simply a woman bought a used car that's defective. That story is as old as my law practice itself. And ever since I started taking cases involving cars, I got calls from people saying, I just bought a defective car. And I'm upset. And people will say, I bought this defective car and I want my money back. And in Michigan, 99.99999% of all cars sold at dealerships are sold as is with no warranty merchantability. So what warranty did they give you? Well, none. They said it was as is. Okay. So you might not have a remedy. So I'm not sure what the basis is for this woman to say that this guy owes her a repair, but it's not spelled out in the story. But interestingly, the guy who sold her the car didn't immediately say, hey, I sold you as is. He said, oh, take it to some place and I'll fix it. Now, of course, he didn't speak on camera. Those are his words being relayed to us by the buyer. Where did that come from? So, see, the funny thing is when I whack the microphone with my hand, I don't hear that. But I know it comes through loud and clear. So, the used car being defective is not the story here. The story here is that she traded in a vehicle that still had a lien on it, and the lien hasn't been satisfied. And that is a major problem. So I can tell you that in the state of Michigan, you can complain to Lansing, the people there who oversee car dealerships, and if you tell them this happened, they will show up and do an investigation. Because this is the kind of stuff that gets car dealers in trouble, makes consumers very unhappy, and causes all kinds of ripple effects in a bunch of different unexpected ways. So you trade in your car, it's got a lien on it. They don't pay off the lien. You don't make payments in the car because you think you traded it in. Your credit's now messed up. There's a lender who's trying to find a car that you don't have anymore for some weird reason. And meanwhile, someone else is driving around a car that's improperly registered. How is that car legally on the road? Oh, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Steve, a dealer plate. Yeah. Are dealer plates in New York designed to be placed on vehicles that were traded in whose liens were not paid off? And you might say, Steve, what's the big deal? Oh, because if the vehicle got traded in and the lien's not paid off, there's a snag. There's a snag. So I have a sneaky feeling that an inspector from the state of New York could drop by this dealership and go, let's see your police book. And different states call them different things, but most states have got a thing called a police book. And a dealership has got to have a document or a ledger that tracks every car in their inventory. What day it came in and what day it goes out. Primarily for tax purposes, but it doesn't matter what their purposes are. The book exists. So someone shows up and says, let's see your police book. Is that 2015 Ford Escape in the police book? Yes or no? Should be. Went into inventory. Okay, where is it right now? We lent it out. Wait, you lent it out? Did you pay off that outstanding lien? No, we didn't. Okay. And how is it being driven legally on the road? Well, we lent it out with a dealer plate. Is that what dealer plates are for? So there very well could be a whole stack of violations here. But I can tell you that while the story of I just bought a defective used car is as old as, boy meets girl, boy loses girl, the idea that you traded in a car that didn't get paid off, I hear about those from time to time. I've done videos about them. But those aren't as common because it's one of those things. I had a professor in law school, Professor Kniprath, one of the smartest people I ever met in any venue. The guy was a super genius. The guy was so smart. And we had a class on SEC regulations. I'll tell you right now, it was not the most interesting class I ever had, but it was taught by Professor Kniprath. And he pointed out that there was a law that if you broke this law, you got in trouble. But the law was so easy to avoid, he said, this law is a trap for the stupid. Because anybody with an IQ over about 75 could walk around this without getting in trouble. And so when dealerships take cars in on trade and don't pay them off, it's not the kind of thing that's going to slide by without detection because it's going to annoy the lender and the lien holder, the previous person who was named in the lien, the responsible for the lien, and they're going to complain. And when the dealership pays the lien off, it's going to be obvious they paid it late. Every day that goes by without that lien being paid, there is a really, really loud clock ticking. And so the only occasions where I had somebody who, quote unquote, got away with this was where I filed a lawsuit on behalf of a client who had this happen to them, and the dealership went bankrupt. They went bankrupt. And so the place was just taking all the money in they could. The guys turned off the lights, locked the door, and walked away. Bankruptcy. Good news, in the state of Michigan, dealerships are required to have a bond. So we got our money. My client got their money. I got my money too. But the point is that you know there are some situations where you can cover something up later and it's hard to tell when it got covered up. It's real easy to show when that lien gets paid off because the lien holder is going to say, here's where we got our money. And they keep really good records of when they get money and so on. So I'm surprised that this story has hit the news without that vehicle being paid off because it sounds like the outstanding lien was $3,600. And right now, if there aren't already, headed to that dealership are people from the state of New York going, hey, let's take a look at this dealership and to see what they're doing with their cars, lending them out, not paying them off, and so on. And like I said, underneath it all, she says she bought a Defective 2017 Infiniti QX60 from him. I'm not that familiar with the QX60, but it's a foreign car. So there you go. Jake, thanks for sending that. CBS6Albany.com. Brianna Sapardi wrote that. Woman says Albany dealership took her old car, her money, and left her with a dud to boot. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. That is all.